KIELLE is more than just fashion. How do you want people to feel when they visit your store? KIELLE has a deep connection to art. How do you pick the artists you work with, and how do they inspire your designs?
The biggest component in starting my brand was the component of self-esteem, 'Cause I was always into fashion, but I was like, starting a brand might be hard, whatever. I like to work for a big brand, that's what I thought in the beginning. And little by little, I realized, listen, no, I'm a creator.
In just 2 years, you went from Spain to launching a luxury brand in Paris. What was the biggest challenge?
Max Mara did a fashion show inside of Bocconi, and so I saw Kendall Jenner and I saw Anna Wintour at my university, coming from far away, but coming in, it's crazy.
KIELLE focuses on quality and timeless pieces. How do you help clients see the value in that?
And obviously, as with any new business, as with any brand, the biggest challenge is letting people know you exist.
How did you get to be academic as you are, right? Like study while being creative and being able to do what you're doing now, which may be seen as different, in a traditional family. Welcome to Media World. Today, we have a very special guest, Ezequiel Doria Medina, founder and creative director of KIELLE Paris. In just a few years, he has built a luxury brand that blends art, craftsmanship, and exclusivity. We'll talk about his journey, KIELLE's vision, and the future of luxury fashion. Ezequiel, welcome. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm very good, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for giving me some space to talk about my work. Thanks.
Thanks for your time, and congratulations as a successful Bolivian.
Thank you.
Ezequiel, you've lived in Milan, New York, and Madrid before moving to Paris. How did each city shape your idea of luxury?
Yeah, I like to think that I've taken a bit of all the positive aspects of every city I've lived in. New York, it has a big component of hard work, of fighting for one's dreams, right? And on the other hand, Milan is such an enjoyable city. I think I literally learned that you should enjoy life as well in Italy. But life is not just about hustling all the time. And there's this side to sophistication and to the appreciation for design in Milan that is really interesting. And now in Paris, I honestly feel that I'm living in the best city of the world. Because it's great for creative inspiration. There's so many creative people coming together in Paris and working and collaborating, and it's honestly the land of fashion. So I just love it. Everything about Paris speaks to me, honestly.
So the great portion of the brand, as we know it today, KIELLE Paris, did you have this as a vision even before you lived in all these places, or it all came together and then you found it and thought of founding the brand?
I would say that the biggest component in starting my brand was the component of self-esteem. 'Cause I was always into fashion, but I was like, starting a brand might be hard, whatever. I like to work for a big brand. That's what I thought in the beginning. And little by little, I realized, listen, no, I'm a creator. I like to start my own projects. I like to manage my own projects. And obviously, when you're starting on a big brand, it's the opposite, right? You're the lowest of the low, and you have to inch your way up, hopefully to get to some place where you have some type of creative freedom at some point. But so that was the biggest component in starting my brand, right? Is this what you mean, or was it more about something else?
Yeah, I was referring to the essence of the brand,
okay.
Like beyond the name, like how you think of your clients, how you serve your customers today. It is something that you started shaping while being in these different locations, right? Or you had a clear vision, I want it to be this way.
Yeah, I have to say that creating a brand is a job that never ends, right? So we're constructing the identity of KIELLE all the time, right? We have some parameters that we respect. We have some guidelines that we're trying to follow all the time. Mostly it's me, that controls that, right? At the moment, I control everything about the public image of KIELLE, but it's something that can transform. It's something that can take different shapes on, right? It's a nice thing about being a young brand and the fact that it's my own brand. I can decide if we pursue a different direction artistically, or creatively, or financially,
Ezequiel, you studied at Columbia and Bocconi. What lessons from those schools do you apply in KIELLE today?
So Columbia, I would think it's the fact that you can learn something very complicated in a very short amount of time if needed, that is doable. And from Bocconi, the same thing, but also the fact that, Bocconi is a great university when you're into fashion, because it's a school mostly for social sciences, for economics, for business. I actually did economics and business at Bocconi. It's so entrenched with the world of fashion, right? Because, for example, it's the only university outside of France that has a partnership with LVMH. So there was at some point an LVMH contest that I participated in. very often big brands would do fashion shows inside the university. So at some point, Max Mara did a fashion show inside of Bocconi. And so I saw Kendall Jenner and I saw Anna Winter at my university, coming from far away, but coming in, it's crazy. So Bocconi, I think, and my time in Milan let me see how fun marketing for a fashion brand can be,
Are you thinking of studying something further in Paris, maybe?
Hopefully not. No, no, no.
Hopefully not.
I've had the idea to do like a short course, at some point to like further my abilities in some specific area of fashion, which we will see. Because I keep telling myself that if I have the time this summer, I would think about it. So I'm thinking about it, but it's nothing for sure, And it would have to be something very short and not interrupt with my responsibilities at KIELLE, right?
You're focused in action, right?
Yeah,
putting in
exactly,
action
yeah.
rather than continuous learning, at
Yeah,
least for
yeah.
now, right?
Yeah, for now, it's all about that. Yeah. Doing everything to further the brand,
In just 2 years, you went from Spain to launching a luxury brand in Paris. What was the biggest challenge?
As you say, we launched KIELLE in Spain, but Paris had always been in my head. I was waiting for the right time to move to France. And obviously, like as with any new business, as with any brand, the biggest challenge is letting people know you exist, right? So since we arrived in Paris, it's been a constant pulling of ideas just to find innovative ways to promote the brand, right? The main way we do it is by exposing artists in the boutique. So we have a bit of a gallery space in the back part of the boutique. But we keep thinking about it. At the moment, we're thinking about starting concerts in the boutique. And obviously we do fashion shows and it's like a never ending game, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work as well. And so that's the biggest part, letting people know we exist.
KIELLE focuses on quality and timeless pieces. How do you help clients see the value in that?
So I think the type of client that will buy this type of products, appreciates already the quality in it. Above all in France, where people are so demanding with the quality of things. So above all with clothes, people are already familiarized. When they see quality, they recognize it.
So you would say that once they come in through your door, most of the times they already know what to expect, even from the outside?
I would say, yeah. At the moment, we have a very punk window going on. So it contrasts a lot with what we have at the inside of the store, but I think that also brings people in because you can also see the store and you see the store and you're right away saying, oh, this is a very luxurious store, and then we have the window that's very punk. And so people become curious and come in. Yeah.
So you don't find yourself having to educate many people, but rather you just help them.
Yeah, very little. We help them. They look at stuff and then they know exactly what they like.
You use rare materials like caiman leather and alpaca. How do you choose them? And what ethical standards guide you?
For the first few collections, yes, the primary material I was using was alpaca. At the moment I'm preparing a new collection and that's going to shift a bit. Well, it's honestly a question of using what I know and wanting to evolve. So sometimes to prepare a collection, I'm gonna use materials that I know of, that I like, and then at some point there's gonna be this need for something new, and I'm gonna go towards something new, With the question of caiman leather and alpaca, there's a very clear ethical standard that we use when dealing with materials that might be considered exotic, right? Above all, caiman leather, But caiman leather actually is a material that in many ways can be considered ethical. I read at some point the manual of use of exotic leather, exotic materials from the Kering group, which is a group that owns Gucci and other big brands, right? And they were buying their caiman leather mainly in Bolivia, So I'm Bolivian, and I know what's going on at the time, So the caiman population is concentrated in the north of the country, and they can get to a point when they become adults that they're destructive for their own species, because they start eating like the baby caimans and they start eating everything, so they can be detrimental for the environment. The indigenous populations that live in those areas of Bolivia hunt the caimans, and they subsist from selling their leather, and they eat the meat of the caimans, right? And this is very, very controlled by the government. They have a specific amount of caimans that they can hunt every year, and they have to reach a certain size to be legally hunted, So in general, this is a process that allows the environment to function normally it might even help it, you know? So this is something very long that it takes me a long time to explain. And yeah, I know it can be demonized really fast, you know, but in the end, we don't talk enough about how cotton is one of the worst tissues that exists for the not fabrics that exists for the environment, right? And we're all using cotton all the time, and it's the worst because it requires so much water, you know. So when we can have deep conversations about these topics and actually thinking about what is better for the environment, you know, there are details that are important to notice.
I heard you say something about shifting from alpaca to something else.
Yeah. For my new collection, I'm gonna it's gonna be a spring summer collection. We're gonna use many materials, right? There's a bit of leather going on. There's gonna be a bit of cotton. Sadly, there's gonna be a lot of silk. A lot of silk. That's gonna be the main star of the next collection. So yeah, we'll see. There's always gonna be a mix. There's always gonna be some winks at the past and some winks at the future. But yeah, KIELLE is an ever evolving brand.
What would you say would be the best option to replace cotton?
There's a fabric that I love. It's called bamboo. So bamboo, like the plants, you know. So they create this fabric with bamboo. It is extremely soft. It is extremely breathable. So it's very nice on your skin. It almost feels like silk, you know, and it resists over time very well. And it makes sense, you know, because at one point when I was young, I gifted my mom a bamboo plant for her birthday, and it needs so little water, so little. You have to give it very little water. But talking with an expert of the industry, he told me that bamboo was introduced into the market and was rejected. People don't like it.
Why?
They see it as too soft. They see it as which is sad, as too feminine of a material to be worn all the time. So it was just like very segmented to like a very specific type of cloth that is only worn by women, you know. So like women's, I don't know, blouses for like spring are made in bamboo still, but the rest, the market rejected it. You know, I was talking about it with an expert, and honestly, there's no quick fix for that. You know, obviously these conversations help. Talking about it and talking about the environmental impact that cotton has can help, you know, but there's no quick fix for a shift in market behaviors, right? At the same time, bamboo has all the qualities that one would appreciate from cotton, but it's also antifungal and it's good for the environment. So it's just something we have to repeat over and over and see if it sticks.
Are you guys going to use bamboo soon?
We'll see. Maybe yes, maybe no.
Okay. KIELLE has a deep connection to art. How do you pick the artists you work with, and how do they inspire your designs?
There's two different things going on. So there's the collaborations. So that's something I decide myself, right? And I discuss it with artists, and when they like what I do, and when I like what they do, and we decide to launch a collaboration, whether it's a silk scarf, whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's a leather jacket together, we do it, and I've had amazing experiences until now. And then there's a connection between KIELLE and art. So as I said, the back part of KIELLE at the moment of our French shop is an art gallery. Right now I'm associated with two different gallerists. So we've been bringing artists, and we do events with them, and we try to promote their art as well. And that's separate from the collaboration. So sometimes both can happen. Sometimes just one happens, and that's not a problem at all. And in this case, I love opening the doors to KIELLE to artists that have a creative mind and a creative soul. And I most of the time I leave them, I give them complete freedom to choose the pieces they want to expose, and I allow them to show whatever they want, to show whatever parts of their identity they want to show, you know. So it's two very different ways that we relate to art at KIELLE.
And that comes from your artistic side yourself, right? Of having that empathy for them.
Yeah. I've always been a creative person, always exploring different aspects of creativity when I was younger. So yeah, everything makes me feel, it enriches my creative processes and my work, just to be able to like relate to creative people and have so different lives and different careers and different projects than mine, you know?
You've opened stores in Paris, Miami, and Bolivia. How are customers different in each place?
So I would say that the biggest difference with the Parisian store is that in Paris, we really get people from all around the world. So every single day, we get people from all different countries, and they're in Paris for all different types of reasons. On the other hand, you know, in my other stores, it's more, there are tourists, but it's mostly tourists that you would expect to have there. You know, in Paris, it's such a mix of cultures, and everyone wants to come to Paris. Everyone wants to visit Paris. So if they end up coming into KIELLE, they can get a nice surprise. No, I've also gotten very nice surprises when out of nowhere there's a big celebrity, or the first lady of France, Brigitte Macron, who's looking at my window, and then I go and I'm like, who's there? And then I ran into the first lady of France looking at our window, you know, or amazing artists that I've met thanks to the store. We're filming videos next to the store, and I started talking with them, and now we're very good friends, and we have tons of projects together. So that's the biggest difference.
Are you planning on opening stores in other locations?
My answer a week ago might have been no, at least for 2025. But apparently, I'm going to open 2 stores this year.
Okay. In France
Yeah,
or in other countries?
one in France, one in Bolivia.
Right. What cities?
So one's going to be in Corsica, so
Okay.
Calvi, and the one in Bolivia in La Paz, so my hometown. So that's fun, right? Because we have one in Santa Cruz, which is not my hometown. It is a very interesting market. It is a very interesting place to be doing fashion and jewelry in. But now I'm going to open one in my hometown and another one in France.
Okay. And that would be by summer, maybe this year?
Yeah. Ready for the summer. Yeah.
So Bolivia plays a big role in Kiel, from production to your boutique in Santa Cruz, like you just said. How does your home country shape the brand?
But so basically, I spent the first 18 years of my life in Bolivia, right? So there's always the knowledge, that can be transmitted. When dealing with materials, as I said, right, the first collection, there was a lot of alpaca, there was a lot of leather from Bolivia going on, and that comes from my past, right? From the 18 years I spent in Bolivia. At the moment, we produce a lot in Bolivia as well, right? So a big part of the clothes are produced in Bolivia, and we have amazing clients in Bolivia. So yeah, so obviously, KIELLE is like our biggest objective is to be a global brand, right? We're little by little taking bigger space in the world. The world as a brand, people are starting to realize we exist, to look at us, to be interested by us, and that's the nicest thing about the world of fashion, right? We don't want to have borders. We want to be everywhere, and little by little, that is the objective.
So many of your clients want unique custom-made pieces. What has been your most special or challenging order?
Yeah, so this one's going to stay in my mind for a long while. 2 years ago, I created an engagement ring, and it was actually for a couple that had already been married for like 20 or 30 years, but they had never had an engagement ring. There had never been the gift of the engagement ring. And they asked me to find one of the rarest stones in the world, which is called alexandrite, right? They make us believe that diamonds are rare. Diamonds are not rare. There are tons of diamonds, but the supply is very well controlled. But on the other hand, alexandrite is extremely hard to find. And it was fun. It was fun because it took me a little while, but I found it, right? It's not something that you have readily available. And when you do, it's like a few pieces, so you have to pick the right stone, and it was a fun process.
So orders like this excite you, right? More than the typical orders.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right.
It's a little game with gemstones, finding the most unique piece, right?
All right. KIELLE is more than just fashion. How do you want people to feel when they visit your store in Paris or any other location?
So KIELLE is more and more becoming about the experience, right? It's all about the experience that we give to people. It can be through clothes, it can be through jewelry, but more and more we do events and stay in people's minds and create an emotional connection, right, to the brand. Yeah. So I would say KIELLE is all about the experience that we can transmit to people. Obviously, we do it very often through clothes. We do it very often through jewelry, which is very much appreciated by our customers. But it goes far beyond, right? For me, it's very emotional because KIELLE is my life, right? I'm not going to keep doing this for the next 70, 80 years and then I'm going to die. So,
okay.
For me, it's even more emotional. And I'm glad that people are starting to have the same reaction towards KIELLE.
For young designers who dream of luxury fashion but have no connections, what advice would you give?
I would tell them do whatever they can just to start being a part of the world and being exposed to the fashion world, trying to go to shows, trying to start designing, trying to watch videos and to consume the news about fashion coming in from the world, to learn, to study, to discover new materials, to use a computer, any type of laptop, just to enrich themselves, with information about the fashion world, luxury world online, because information is readily available. We just have to take advantage of it.
Ezequiel, I'm curious about something that I think many of those watching will find interesting, is the fact that you come from an entrepreneurial family, a successful family, and a more traditional family. Your dad is a business person, he's a politician. So how did you get to be academic as you are, right? Like study, while being creative and being able to do what you're doing now, which may be seen as different, in a traditional family?
Yeah, people tell me this very often, but I have to say that while being academic, while studying, while growing up, I was always exploring creativity, right? I've had this need to be creative all my life, right? I've tried many things. I've gotten good at some, at others I left behind maybe, they weren't for me. But I think everything was just bringing me towards fashion, right? Because I knew it, I had it in my mind for a long time, but but it's just a means to like exploring so many different creative segments of being human, right? We can mix music, we can mix art, we can mix design, we can mix everything with fashion, right? And I think it was just like a question of time, because everything inside of me was directing me towards this path. And with my family, probably it was unexpected, but when it did happen, when I did decide what I wanted to do, they were very happy. There's also the business side, right? Fashion is not just about having fun and designing and being crazy, right? It's also a business, right? So there's a whole business that I need to manage. I need to consider the finances of the company. I need to consider many, many things. And so this part also appealed to my family, but now they're starting to enjoy as well the other part, the part that they didn't know. So it's the whole creative side to it. They're starting to enjoy it.
Right. So you didn't face a lot of resistance in the beginning, as long as you kept your finances right.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't.
No, not at all. Not at all. They were super supportive. Very, very supportive.
Great. To wrap up, Ezequiel, describe the ideal KIELLE client in 3 words.
Someone that has audacity, who is open-minded, and who is chic.
Okay. Are you having difficulty finding them?
They find us.
Okay, there you go. That's great.
Great.
Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. It's been great learning about KIELLE, your journey, and what's next this 2025.
Thank you for your time. I love having the space to speak about my work. Thanks.
We'll be watching your new projects. For those who want to follow KIELLE, where can they find you?
Instagram, KIELLE Paris, KIELLE Paris.
All right. Thank you, Ezequiel.
Thank you.
Thanks again for joining us. Did you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and tell us in the comment section below what you found most interesting in this story. If you would like to see more stories like this, click here. Thanks for watching.